Welcome to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping Orange County. With your host, Don Camber.
Hello, live from the OC Talk Radio studios at UCI's Beal Applied Innovation Center. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Don Camber with another great guest impacting our community in a positive way. Today, I welcome Orange County Fire Authority Captain and Public Information Officer Greg Barta. The OCFA serves 23 cities in Orange County and all unincorporated areas. Thank you, Greg, for being on Impact OC.
Thanks, Don. I know we've tried to make this happen for a little while. I'm glad we can finally get to it.
Greg, the OCFA protects nearly 2 million residents from its 77 fire stations throughout Orange County. Share with us how you're able to accomplish this.
Yeah, that's a great question. So it's a team effort, kind of like sports. It takes a lot of us to accomplish that goal. Most people think that it's all about the firefighters just responding to those calls for distress, whether it be a fire, an emergency medical situation, but there's actually more than just our firefighters. We have a team of hundreds of individuals that work at our headquarters in support roles that enable us to do what we do best, which is get out there and help those of you in Orange County that need us.
About how many firefighters do you have?
We're close to about 1,200 right now, and constantly hiring more. So we're expanding and always in need of new firefighters. So anybody listening, if you've ever thought about a career in the fire service, look at our website and maybe think about going in that direction.
What kind of training do you go through?
Yeah, that's a good question. So everybody comes from different backgrounds. Diversity is a great thing that we value in our organization. But when you get hired with us, we put you through a 16-week academy, and it's pretty arduous. It's physically, mentally, and emotionally challenging to prepare you for that career.
So what happens when you are dispatched? Explain from the moment that someone calls 911 to the moment
that we get there.
You get there.
Yeah. So when we're in the station, which is where we live, so it's kind of like a family atmosphere. And for us, we work what we call a 48-96 schedule. So you work for 2 complete days for 48 hours at the fire station, and then you're home for 4 days. So literally a third of our lives we spend with those other firefighters. So when we're at the station, there's various things we do, normal life, cooking, working out, training. But we always have our pagers on us, and we're at the station, the bell that can go off. So the minute we hear that happen, boom, we race to the engine. We're out of the door within 60 seconds. And a lot of things are taking place simultaneously. So the captain is looking, and our dispatchers do an amazing job. They get us all kinds of information that's displayed on a computer screen that then enables us to kind of start in our heads mentally wrapping our minds around what are we going on? Is it a fire, a medical aid, a hazardous materials situation? And then we route ourselves to the call, and as we're en route, we have headsets on, much to the same that you and I do right now, where we're constantly communicating. So if it's a fire, we're discussing, what kind of building is this? We have aerials where we can see, wow, this is a large Amazon facility that we're going on, or this is a home. We start kind of pre-planning, hey, what's your role going to be? What's my role going to be? Same thing with the medical aid. We get information. Is somebody having chest pain? Are they having a seizure? And just kind of discuss, hey, here's what we're going to do on this call if it is, in fact, what we've been dispatched on.
Well, let's talk about dispatch. Someone calls 911. What happens from that point?
So most of the time you actually go, a lot of it's based on where you're calling from. It will actually go to the police agency, so CHP, sheriffs, or a city police department. And then they kind of triage it. So if it is any type of situation that would require us, a medical aid, fire and whatnot, they transfer you to our dispatch center. And it's a pretty seamless transition, obviously. And then our dispatchers get the pertinent information, obviously where you're calling from, which that's generally a given. We get that through technology. And then what kind of emergency are you, in fact, having? Because if it's a fire, we're sending a lot more than one resource versus if it's a medical aid, you'll get the closest unit. So that's kind of some of the stuff that takes place when that call immediately comes in. And what our dispatchers really do a tremendous job of is calming and coaching those individuals calling 911. So they provide great guidance. If it's a fire, they're going to make sure that the whole family exits the home, make sure you all meet in a common point outside so you can account for everybody. If it's a medical aid, if somebody's in cardiac arrest, they'll try and coach the person on the other end of the phone through giving CPR to that individual. So they really do just a tremendous job trying to bridge that gap, because it could take us 3 minutes to get there, but it feels like an eternity for those on the other end, obviously. So they do just an awesome job kind of bridging that gap until we can get there to take over and rectify the problem.
Now, when someone needs to call 911, what kinds of information does that person need to have to provide to the dispatcher?
Yeah, so where you are, a lot of times if you're calling from a residence, we get that information through technology, but we do get calls, for example, mountain bikers. We have a lot of mountain bikers or people that are out hiking, especially when the weather's nice like it is today, and they get injured, dehydrated, have some type of emergency. Well, where are they? That's the most important thing. We need to know where we're going. So to be able to explain to our dispatchers where you are, that's probably the first and foremost. And then secondly, what kind of problem are you having? Is this a medical problem? Is your house on fire? Do you smell something weird in the home? What is it, right? Is there a cat caught in the tree? Which, by the way, we don't rescue cats out of trees. I've never seen a cat skeleton in a tree. But what exactly is going on, right? Because that's going to really aid us in helping you. And then from there, our dispatchers, they'll get the response started. And then they're going to start trying to ascertain more information. So let's take you, for example, Don. If you called and I'm having chest pain, then, okay, ma'am, when did it start? What were you doing when it started? They're going to try and get as much information as possible. Are you having difficulty breathing? Your age? They just try and get all kinds, as much as they can give us, so that when we arrive on scene, we have more pieces of the puzzle complete. Just makes our jobs easier.
Now, while they're asking me questions, will the units already have been dispatched?
Exactly. So there's no delay in that. So as soon as we find out where we're going and what we're going for, the dispatch is already commenced. So you'll have units en route, and then they're just getting more information. And so what's cool for us, so when I'm a captain, obviously, so I sit in the front right seat. So I have a computer in front of me. So my job is obviously to manage the crew, but so with that computer, I route us to the call. So I map us to it to get us there. And then all the information comes through there. So initially when we get on the rig, I may just have, I'm going to this address and it's for chest pain. And I may not have much else. And then a little noise occurs, and which cues me to look back at the screen if I'm not already, and some more information comes through. Okay, we're going on a, X age old female, chest pain for 2 hours, also experiencing shortness of breath, has previous heart. So all this more information comes, through the pipeline to us, but we've already been en route.
So what is dispatch? A fire station and a paramedic? What is the general protocol?
You mean for as far as
when someone is dispatched, do you dispatch a fire engine and a paramedic? Because I've often seen both of those go to events, same event.
Great question. So we're pretty unique, almost exclusively throughout Orange County, with a few minor exceptions. Your paramedics are actually your firefighters. So actually, there's a little paramedic rocker, we call it, on my uniform here, which signifies that I'm also a paramedic. So when you call 911 because you have a medical emergency and you need the paramedics, you're actually going to get a fire engine or truck that comes. We are the paramedics. So a lot of times people get confused because they see the ambulances and, are those the paramedics? No, we're actually your paramedics here in Orange County. The ambulance comes separate, but with us. They come from a different location, and they basically are our transport device. So we will put our stuff into the ambulance if you need to be transported to the hospital.
What are the most kind of calls you get?
Just in general, across the board?
Across the board.
Medical calls, without a doubt, that makes up, well over 80% of our calls are medical in nature.
Like
chest pain, difficulty breathing, seizures. With all of the COVID stuff, we had a significant call volume based on flu-like symptoms, which could have been COVID, it could have been something else.
So do fires play a smaller role in the scheme of the kind of calls you get?
If you go on percentage-based, obviously medical calls in nature are our greatest quantity. Fires still do occur.
And if so, what kind of fires are you dealing with?
It really varies. And some of them are geographically dependent based on what kind of, is it a residential area? Is it a business area? And there are various causes for them. Electrical is, a common cause of fires. Cooking fires we go on, fairly significantly as well.
So what happens during an event, or when you get to a home, what happens?
Are we talking
when you get all right? If it's a medical emergency, when you get to a home, what happens?
So there's generally 4 of us on the engine or truck. So we grab our gear quickly, make our way into the home, and then our paramedics will begin assessing that individual that's experiencing the medical type of emergency. Then we do a great job of communicating with the other family members, keeping them calm, because it's a traumatic event. I mean, if you're calling us, it's not because it's your best day, that's for sure. It's probably your worst day or one of them. So we do a great job trying to calm family members on scene, and then we also try and get as much information as possible. So depending on the status of the patient, sometimes the patient can't talk to us. Sometimes they're flustered and can't remember their information. Sometimes it's somebody with dementia or Alzheimer's, and they just don't know. So we'll also have one of our individuals talking to those family members on scene to get information that may aid us in helping out in the situation.
And then after the event, I mean, after they're ready, you pretty much, if it's a medical, the person's gonna go in an ambulance.
Yeah. So afterwards, we'll obviously transport them to the hospital if that's needed, and then it's just one of those, ready, set, go again. We make sure our gear is ready to go for the next call, and we're ready to go. We're always available for you.
Now, will the sheriff's department be called on many of your calls? And is that something that you would do? You contact the sheriff's department, or is that part of the dispatching?
So it so much is dependent upon the call nature, right?
Of course.
If there's any kind of potential where there could be a police matter also occurring, or let's say they're a reported assault or a domestic dispute where there are injuries, they'll absolutely be dispatched with us. We also have the ability to request them should we deem it necessary, which does happen probably more often than people would think. There are times we arrive on scene and things are a little chaotic and not quite exactly what maybe we were expecting, and then work in relationship with all the police agencies.
What are the challenges you face in the field?
Yeah, there's a lot. Probably if we ask most of the public, well, what do firemen do? They fight fires, right? Well, I think we've kind of established now that we also handle medical aids, but there's literally so much that we do. We're kind of like the professional problem solvers or jacks of all trades. It's, if you fall in the Santa Ana River and you get swept away, that's us helping you. If there is a hazardous materials incident, I've been on a few of them here at UCI in the last couple of months, we handle that. If you all of a sudden notice there's a weird smell, or I smell natural gas in my house, we handle that. There's just so many things that we're called upon to do that, we're truly asked to be kind of the jack of all trades. So it's challenging. We're not being asked to just master one thing, just be good at fighting fires.
Why are you a firefighter?
Ooh, that's a great question. That's a really good one. So my original plan, I wanted to be an orthopedic surgeon. I like sports. That kind of intrigued me, so I thought I wanted to do that. However, my dad, he was a firefighter here with us at Orange County Fire, and my first year at college, he told me, hey, whenever you have like a day off, from school, if you want to come ride along with us and hang out and have lunch or dinner at the fire station, you're more than welcome. So I did that, and I fell in love with it. I mean, instantly. So the camaraderie, the team aspect of it, the no 2 days being alike. I mean, there's literally no 2 days that are ever alike here at work. And just the ability to help people, which is awesome. Like, we truly make a difference. And I tell my wife this, like, I'll go home, and especially when we have a call where we like truly save someone's life. I mean, there's not much else that's more rewarding than that. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. So, I mean, for me, the decision was pretty easy once I started riding along with my dad and seeing, the impact they had, the camaraderie, the fun they had at work. It's truly like a brother and sisterhood. I mean, I knew I wasn't going to be the quarterback of the Rams or, shortstop for the Yankees. So this was the next best thing, I quickly realized.
How young were you when you determined that's what you wanted to do?
I was right about like 20. Yeah.
So at 20, you decided, I'm going to be a firefighter. I'm going to get on that fire truck, and I'm going to go and I'm going to help people.
All in. I was all in at that point. Yeah, this is what I'm going to do. And my parents supported me, and honestly, it's the best decision I've ever made. Other than marrying my wife.
Of course.
Yeah, I don't want to get in trouble.
What are the important qualities are needed in order to be a firefighter, would you say?
There's no like cookie cutter, like this is what it takes to be a firefighter. You don't need to look a certain way. You don't need to be a certain height, a certain weight. You don't need to come from a certain background. Honestly, what we value at our organization, I can speak to that at least, is a diverse workforce, right? Because if you had, there's 1,200 of us firefighters. If there were 1,200 Greg Bartas that all looked, talked, thought, acted like me, it wouldn't be as great of an organization as it is. So truly, we want people from different backgrounds. We have individuals that played professional college sports. We have many individuals that were in the military. We have people that came from the corporate world. We have people that came from medical backgrounds. There's just so many. And we have those that, like, as kids knew they wanted to be firefighters, and they were involved in our cadet program from the time they were 14, and they knew that this is all I want to do is be a firefighter. So there's just so many different routes and so many different backgrounds. It actually makes it fun. We go work with, different folks on different days, and it's awesome hearing about some of the people's backgrounds. Just one of our captains just retired, and he actually won a couple Daytime Emmy Awards. I mean, go figure, right? Daytime Emmy Award winner, and then became a firefighter. I believe it was musical composition for like a couple shows. But I mean, what a unique background, right? To go from being so talented with music to becoming a firefighter.
What are the age ranges of firefighters?
You mean all the way through?
Young to old.
We've had a couple that have been hired pretty young, 19, 20-ish, and then all the way on up to there are still some that are in roughly 60.
So when you go to a scene, what can the public do, or what would you like the public do to help you do your job? Because things happen. The public may be getting in the way. What should the public do when they see firefighters needing to go to the scene?
Well, you kind of said it best right there. I mean, I hate to say stay out of our way, like it's a bad thing, but that is true. Give us some space. Let us do our thing. If we need information, we'll ask for it. And really, like, kind of abide by the laws, right? Pull to the right. If you see us, I mean, the first thing is we got to get to a call to help people. So, if you see the fire engine coming, lights and sirens, pull to the right, in a safe manner. Do that. And then, it's funny now, everybody wants to get their cell phone videos. And so we do have people that get a little too close. They're in the way trying to get videos. And a lot of times it's not even so much for us as it is for like patient privacy. When somebody's having a medical emergency out in public, and you get a bunch of, I guess, looky-loos is the best, what's going on? They see the fireman over there. And it just gives some space, some common courtesy for those individuals having their roughest day.
And you're also called for earthquakes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like we said, jack of all trades. And you name the emergency, we'll get called for it.
Now, when there is a fire and you put the fire out, is it your department that's going to do the investigation to determine what caused it?
Yep. So truly, I think the greatest thing about our organization is we're such a large organization that any specialty that anybody that works for us wants to do, you can do. If you want to be on a helicopter flying around, we have that. If you want to be on our hazmat team, we've got that. And then we have an investigation section. So anytime we have a legitimate fire that occurs, our investigation team comes out there and they do their cause and origin determination.
And you also do education outreach.
All the time. So that's part of a component of my job right now. I'm one of our public information officers. A huge component of what we do is obviously education outreach. I mean, what we're doing right now is a form of education. And then we actually have a great team under our communications section of educators. And they're spaced all throughout the county, and they do a great job reaching out to, all ages of the community, and providing information how people can be fire safe and whatnot.
Explain what they could see on your website to get information.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Give the website too.
Yeah, so our website, it's www.ocfa.org. So that's ocfa.org. If you just type in Orange County Fire or OCFA on Google or Yahoo, that'll come up. And truly, if you're looking for any information, I mean, one of the biggest ones, especially here in Orange County, we see these brush fires happen all the time, right? So people ask, well, how can I be safe in the event of a brush fire? Well, on there's a link of, OCFA/RSG for Ready, Set, Go. Provides all kinds of information on how you can maintain a defensible space around your home, how you can be safe if a fire occurs. So there's truly all kinds of information on there. You just keep clicking the buttons, and I mean, it's kind of, you'll go down the internet hole of, finding all kinds of new information that could help you out as a citizen. And
I know it's important to get children familiar with firefighters at an early age. So share with us how you're able to do that so that when there is an incident, they're not fearful of you.
Yeah, one of the funnest things we all love doing is we go to these, school tours, school events, where we're able to, kind of do a show and tell of the fire engine. And what we always do is get in our gear, we put our mask on, where we kind of sound like Darth Vader is what we say, to let them know that, hey, if you ever hear this in the house and your home's on fire, don't be afraid of that. We're there to help you. And then obviously just we look kind of official, right? We can be kind of big and intimidating for little kids, so just to put that friendly face where they get to meet us, that's important. With COVID, things changed a little. There were no fire station tours where we couldn't have the school groups come to the stations. We weren't even going to the schools. We tried our best, and I think we did a great job of some unique outreach ways where we were doing some Zoom sessions. We taped. I did it. I read a couple books that were taped for the kids to watch, just to kind of give that other means of outreach and letting them see us, which was challenging. So we're really excited that things appear to be trending back in the other direction, where we can be out there actively engaged in the community.
What are some of the big questions the children have when they talk to you?
Well, it depends on the age range. The 3-year-olds, have silly ones. What do you like to eat? It really differs. Some of them, and it's so unique watching each kid and how their little mind works. Some of them are enthralled with certain things. What do you use that for? And what do you use that for? Some of them, hey, what do you like to eat? It differs all the time, which is fun. That's what, again, no 2 days are like, no 2 kids are like, so it's a lot of fun.
But firefighting has changed over the years. You have more experienced and nice equipment.
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything changes, right? I remember when I first became a paramedic, here's one good example of it. So we called it the MIC form. It was a piece of paper that we filled out, right? So if I was running a medical aid and you were my patient, all the information went on this piece of paper. Nowadays we look at it and go, oh, it's kind of archaic, right? And there were multiple copies. You would tear one sheet to give to the hospital, one sheet would go to the ambulance, one sheet would go for our records. Well, now what's everybody have? An iPad, right? So everything's digital on the iPad. So technology, we came up with where we had thermal imaging cameras come out a handful of years back, where it enabled us to detect, it's a thermal imager, so heat inside a burning building. So we had one of them on the engine or truck. Now everybody's got their own personal one, and I'm sure, and if we come back and do this interview in 5 years, there'll be something really cool that we haven't even heard of yet that we'll be using.
Are firefighters accurately portrayed on TV?
Well, it depends the show, I guess, right? And I mean, I don't watch too many of those. It's pretty much sports in my house, but I have seen Chicago Fire a couple episodes. I mean, obviously they're very dramatized. So some parts are sort of kind of accurate, a lot aren't. But I wouldn't put too much stock in that if anybody is watching those thinking that's what it's like.
But when I was young, we saw the famous fire pole. Do any fire stations have fire poles?
They do. They're kind of going by the wayside. There's only a couple left. Some of our stations that have been around for a little bit longer. They're kind of a historical thing, and they're super cool. But all the new stations aren't being built with those.
Thank you, Orange County Fire Authority Captain and Public Information Officer Greg Barta, for being on Impact OC. And I thank everyone for tuning in. I'm OC Talk Radio Public Affairs Director Dawn Camber. Have an impactful day.
You've been listening to Impact OC, the only program showcasing the people and organizations shaping our community. Right here on Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio.